Hey, it's been quite a week here on the Healthy Church Staff Podcast. I was joking yesterday that I hoped today would be a little bit easier, more upbeat of a topic. We've been talking about burnout and what to do when your pastor's a jerk and independent investigations the last couple days. And I thought maybe I scheduled something really upbeat for this Friday. And today's topic is, oh no, I need to fire somebody. So not today, maybe next week. I'm Todd Rhoades, and you are listening to the Healthy Church Staff Podcast. I'm one of the co-founders over at Chemistry Staffing. I'm so glad you're here. Today, again, talking about, I need to fire somebody. A lot of times, let's start here. Not everybody thinks that churches should ever fire somebody. I'm not one of those people. I think it's definitely a delicate balance. You have to strike that balance between, on the one hand, treating one another with grace and patience, and on the other hand, taking responsibility. Sometimes you have to fulfill the mission and purpose of the church when something either isn't working well or somebody just is not contributing the way that they should. Termination of employment, it's a delicate balance, but in my opinion, it shouldn't be taboo. It should be done very rarely. Nobody should ever be surprised if they are let go. And unfortunately, sometimes just situations arise when a staff member is clearly unfit for their role, or maybe they're just not a good fit for the church. It's become abundantly clear. Or maybe they're actively working against the church's goals or values or people. Maybe you've got a pastor that's a jerk on your staff and you need to take care of that. And after some reasonable attempts to address these issues through training and coaching and discipline and love, and all of those things have proven unsuccessful, termination this might sound weird, but it may be the kindest option. I remember years ago hearing Andy Stanley talking about this topic, and he said sometimes you just have to free some people's future. And that's a unique way to put it, to free somebody's future, but sometimes it's actually a kind thing to do. It's the right thing to do for the church, and it's a kind thing to do for an individual. It may not seem like that at the time, and it's very difficult. But again, there just needs to be a balance of compassion and accountability. Before you pull the trigger, though, it's really important. It's really important that you address this. Like I said, no one should go into work on any day of the week and get called in and fired and not have a clue. And I realize some people are not very self-aware and they're always surprised. But as a supervisor, as a pastor, as a shepherd, as people that should take your relationships with your staff very seriously, it's really important to do your groundwork. You just don't make rash decisions when it comes to ending somebody's employment. It has effects on your church, on your volunteers, on your congregation, and on that person and their family. So you need to start with really discussing how poor performance has created some tension and how it's affected the church goals. And you need to really start putting those down in some kind of a checklist, because unsustainable situations really create an unspiritual environment the longer they go. And a lot of times I would say that you don't want to be too quick to fire, but many times churches wait too long. They're just a little bit they take too long to do it. Put together what I call a termination checklist. That might sound rather harsh, but it's really just trying to go through the things you need to do to make sure that this is really the right decision. So a checklist, here's some things to evaluate. Can this employee that you think is on the bubble, can they meet the requirements of the job with some support? Can they get there? Do they have the potential to turn the corner with some support? And then the second question is, are you providing that support? And if you're not, that's on you to help them along and to provide that support. So do you think that this employee has the potential to actually be a good employee and to turn that corner? If so, continue and offer them as much support, build it in them as much as you can. Second question, is there a pattern of negative behavior? Sometimes it's not so much that they don't have the skill or the ability or the experience. It's just that they have a really bad attitude, a negative attitude, negative behavior that kind of pulls down the staff. A lot of times that can't be remedied. You can try, but sometimes it's just the personality of the individual that's come out. Another question, is their influence damaging the culture of the church or the goals that you have? Is there any way, again, that they can turn the corner, that they can do better? And then lastly, on this termination checklist, have you given them ample warning? Have you tried to work through? It's really important that this doesn't catch them by surprise. All right, so you've determined that, okay, yep, we need to do this. We need to pull the trigger. We need to free this person's future. How do you do it? In terminating, if you decide that you have to terminate, always approach it with kindness. Approach it with honesty and respect. If you're mad, if you're just really ticked at this individual, it's not a good time to fire them, because you will not approach that with kindness and honesty and respect. Whenever you fire somebody, you need to terminate with compassion and then proceed with integrity. You need to be transparent about the reasons. You need to offer some transition support. Words matter, so you need to make sure that you choose them with care. I always encourage, and I wish more churches did this, and this is a service that we offer and that I offer personally at Chemistry Staffing, what we call transition coaching. If you're letting somebody go, we offer a 3-month program that the church can hire either myself or one of our church coaches at Chemistry Staffing to walk with the person that you're letting go. As soon as you call them into your office and you let them know that they no longer have a job, you lose your opportunity to minister and to support them. So sometimes, and I encourage you to seek out, there's other people that do this too. It doesn't have to be with chemistry, but we'd love to come along and help support you if you need this. But if you can offer some transition support, help them to land well, give them a good runway financially so that they're cared for, and just, again, treat it with kindness, honesty, and respect. Termination is not about condemnation. You may feel like you've got something to prove. It's not the time to do it. Take the high road. It's not about condemnation, but more about redirection. Here's my final kind of advice for you as you head into the weekend. And maybe you've got a staff member now that's on the bubble. Maybe you're on the bubble and you're wondering whether or not you're going to have a job next week. I think a lot of us have been there at one point in our ministry career. Always approach termination with kindness and honesty and respect. And if you can, provide some ongoing support. If you'd love to talk with me, I'd love to talk with you about any kind of transition coaching that chemistry offers. I'd be happy to do that. You can always reach out to me at podcast@chemistrystaffing.com. And I'd be happy to walk you through exactly what that might look like for any person that you need to free their future. So not a great topic, not something that we like to talk about, not something that we ever want to do, but sometimes, unfortunately, it's necessary. Sometimes it's good for the individual. Sometimes it's good for the church. Okay, that's my sermon on what you got to do when you need to fire somebody. It's never fun. Believe me, I've had to do it. It is never, ever fun, but sometimes it needs to be done. All right. Hope you have a great weekend. We'll be back here bright and early on Monday on the Healthy Church Staff Podcast. We're here every Monday through Friday. Hope you'll take some time wherever you listen to this podcast to subscribe. Make sure you listen every day. We've got a great lineup again for next week, and I hope you'll join us. Thanks again. This is Todd Rhoades. Hope you have a great weekend.